Man, oh man, what am I doing? Purely impulsivity going for this live stream here, and I have not yet decided the topic. So you guys are going to join me as I send out some emails. And if you're watching this on the replay, you're going, man, I wish Steve would get to the point, try and fast forward maybe 10 minutes. I'm also trying a different mic setup, which could be a little bit crazy. So we're going to go live on TikTok. I'm still going to pick a topic. My email list there's some votes in from it. And it was just sent with a couple people who replied. It was only sent like 45 minutes ago. So there'll be that. And let me try and do all this funny stuff. Oh, man, I don't want to talk to you. Come on, man. That was me talking about TikTok stuff. You don't want to hear that.
But I do. It's not magic trick.
How do I get back to my profile? Jeez. There we go. I don't know why my TikTok is red. I can't make it not red. And at this point, I don't care. If you guys want to know a secret, as we're waiting for me to be able to send this out, I was making bread earlier and I have flour still on my hands. And then I just burnt, oh, it is turning into a burn. I burned my finger while I was prepping for this. So we'll just call this okay. The lie of family court. And before I press live on the TikTok, let me send out an email to everybody. And if you're in my groups, guess what? We'll do a call most likely after this. So, because I'm so crazy, I didn't prep too much of this. Actually, I was working. I was making a video that some of this is based on. So let's go here. How's everybody doing tonight? As I do all of this, fill me in. Write in some comments and questions. I'm absolutely positive you can distract me with a question because I'm pretty good at that. But right now you can't distract me because I'm sending out these emails to the fans. We are live. Come on by. I'll be here for at least an hour, probably more. Okay, and then I still haven't chosen a topic and need to look at the votes. All right. Almost done with this one. You son of a gun. Again. You know, it'd be great if I could share my screen here because then you could see what a horrible speller I am and many other things. And then one more email, guys, and then I'll get to your opening questions. I'll send that to everybody. And then I'm going to send out the Zoom link to all the people who are on my list. All the paid folks. As this is trying to load, let me look at whatever questions we have. We have some questions. Need prep. Okay. That's another vote for prep. All right. Oh, no prep is sometimes the best way to live. Yeah. Like healthcare. Man, geez. Okay. It is better to deal with a narc ex in Canada. You guys are just so humorous. Okay. Well, that brings up some stuff. I do actually have a live stream prepared for some narc stuff, but it may not be what you're looking for. So let's think of that. But feel free to write in, and I still need to look at the votes. I'm going to go live on the TikTok, in case my audio goes out on YouTube, because it's using a different camera setup. I'm going to, I have other mics ready, which that won't make anything more complicated. Okay. Guys on TikTok, I'm just sending out the emails on this. We are live. Come on by. If you're reading this email, you can join the Zoom. But wait until after an hour, because I won't open up for Q&A after that. This Zoom line, tonight, the Zoom line is only for paid dudes. So no privacy issues unless I am still recording. What's up, guys, on TikTok? We're about to do a live stream, and I put in a vote to my email list on what we're going to talk about. So it'll be something most likely related to high conflict custody, but I got to look at the vote and see what people wrote in. Okay? If you want to be on that email list, you should be on it. Most definitely. All right. So no, unless I'm still recording. Okay. Here is the Zoom link. Otherwise, go on the YouTube link, bros. Oh man, and with this Zoom, I think I have to admit you. There's a waiting room. Do I disable that waiting room? Whatevs. We're getting started with this sucker. Look at all you fancy people on TikTok joining. That's so cool. And I still need to do this to my email list. Oh, okay, there's all sorts of cool stuff there. Well, that should work. I think that works. Why not send it now? Let's take the risk. All right, guys. So we're live on YouTube. We've been live for almost 9 minutes now. And what happened is there are 4 options that we could talk about tonight. So I have these 4 topics, and it might take me a while to prepare everything for it, but you can even write in on TikTok of what you'd want to hear, write in on YouTube of what you want to hear, but I'm going to decide pretty quick, and there's usually a delay, so you might just have to accept it. So number 1, we have 1 vote, maybe 2 votes so far. I got to look for trial prep, and this would be evidence and testimony. What we're going to be going over with the evidence and testimony is kind of interesting. This comes from a client. Oh, snap. I got to be recording on this. So this comes from a client who and I've been working with, that I've been helping prepare for their trial. And this is going through all the different evidence they have, and it gets kind of tricky. In theory, this is a very quick presentation, But in evidence, there's evidence you need for your case. There's your mentality around it, how you communicate with your attorneys. And then there's how you would argue it in court, which is a whole different animal. And they're almost like two different things. We don't think about that. So I think a lot of people look at preparing for court like they're going to trial, which you should always be doing, but then they negate the stuff you do before trial. And this goes into how you interview, how you talk, and so on. So like how you will testify is very different than how you will interview. So if you're doing a deposition, this would be a testimonial where you're going to share in a certain way, or you're going to testify in a certain way. And then getting evidence that may be useful in court is going to have a completely different angle. So we look at that sort of stuff, which is pretty cool. Like that will definitely be some sort of live stream if we don't do it tonight. The second one is parental alienation and the effects on parents and kids. So we talked a lot about parental alienation and how it affects kids on one of the live streams. You should watch that one. It's good. It's a little bit all over the place. I kind of want to redo it. But this live stream essentially will have to do, or this presentation will have to do with parental alienation. It leaves you disenfranchised and screws you up, right? And so when you screw up, this then makes it easier for the other side to attack you and make you an unfit parent. So if we're at the beginning of parental alienation, like let's say nothing bad has happened in the courts, but you haven't seen your kids for a month, you might get disenfranchised. Like there could be things where you have to be responsible for them, but they could be something like a DWI or a DUI. You could just disappear. You could get depressed. You could be unkept in your house. And then when you're handed back to the possibility to see your kids, and somebody looks at your house, or maybe you got that DUI, this could affect your case massively. So this is like a big one, right? So the parental alienation number 2 is going to more have to do with that. Number 3 is false accusations versus real abuse. And this is tricky. I actually kind of want to talk about this one a lot. I actually don't want to talk about it the most. Number 4, I want to talk about the most. But all these are going to happen. The reason why I want to talk about this one, but I'm also hesitant, is because I haven't gone through on what would be the right words to say so that YouTube or TikTok doesn't ban me on it. Because you just can't talk about some of this stuff. So when you talk about false abuse allegations versus real allegations and what happens psychologically, this is like so obvious, but we don't ever look at it. And then social workers don't study it. I actually talked to a social worker today about it. Social workers don't study it. Judges don't study it. Law enforcement doesn't study it. And so these things that happen, kind of like holes in the system, get slipped through, that a real abuse victim, it's been studied. And then the obvious things that somebody making false allegations does, that they always do, is going to actually unintentionally mimic the abuse stuff. Okay. So it's pretty important for fighting that because you need to know it yourself. You need to know how to attack it, all that sort of good stuff. So that's number 3, if you want to vote for that. And number 4 is peace after high conflict. And this is like the male personal journey. And just to say that the way this one is charted out is it actually isn't charted out specifically for divorce and custody per se. But when we get into custody battles, people talk a lot about many things. This could be things with spirituality, things with different types of philosophies, different ways of finding themselves again, and they're really important. In fact, they're vitally important for you being able to win your case. You can be an atheist or an agnostic or whatever, and you could get a lot of good results in this. So tell me what you want to hear. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Okay, if you missed them. First one is trial prep, evidence, testimony. Second one, parental alienation, how it affects you. Third, false allegations versus real abuse and victimization. 4, peace after high conflict. And we'll go to that, we'll present it, and I would actually recommend that if you are not on my email list, you get on it because that's where the votes took place, but I'm asking you if you want to vote on it. And YouTube is, in my opinion, a cleaner and better live stream. So if you're not on my email list, you won't know that. You won't know how to get there, or maybe you do. And let me look at the votes that were written in by my email list. 1 for number 1. Number 3, false allegations versus real abuse. Okay. Another one that says, I need them all, honestly. Trial prep and picking the right attorney would be the most immediate, and then parental alienation. Okay. Now, just so you know, I have a lot of videos on that, and this will not be on finding an attorney, but there's a video on that. It's very good. I did a live stream on it, then I did an edit of the live stream because there were problems. You should really go to my YouTube and look at that. You should really look at that. Okay, number 4, by a long-term and epic member, a man who kicked ass pro se in our community, and we watched him do it for like a year and a half. He votes for number 4. Okay. And all good, but we have court in December, so trial and evidence. All right. I think I'm going to go with trial and evidence, which kind of disappoints me because it's a little bit boring, but it's a really interesting one. So let's go to it. And we got, okay, let me look on TikTok because TikTok has chimed in. YouTube, I need all of them. TikTok scares you. It should. All right. So I'm going through number 3 right now. False allegations. Yeah, big one. Okay. Every call was recorded or call. It's okay. All right. So we have another one for false allegations. Sorry for just letting loose, man. It's all good, baby. It's all good. Let it loose. Let it loose on TikTok where it's not recorded. Let it loose in a men's group. Okay. An algorithm to follow. Okay. Won my case. All right. Denton County. Hey, hey. Mean green, baby. Okay, I want to thank you for all your content. You're welcome. All right. So I'm looking at all this fun stuff. And I think, okay, so you who want number 3, I'm going to get to you later, okay? I don't want to go over number 3 now because I'll get to it at some point this week. It's a really interesting thing, false allegations versus real allegations. It's a pretty epic topic, but I'm going to skip that one, mainly because it didn't get enough votes. But it did get some votes, and I want to respect that, and I put it on there. The one that got the most votes is the trial prep. Now, this is going to be going in a certain direction, but we are going to go with that. So let me pull up my notes for it and then put it in something where I can read it really well. And you know what's funny is I just recorded 2 videos on this, short ones that were specifically for a client doing private work. And so I'm actually warmed up on it. But I gotta say that this one is the most boring. And I also want to say that there's so much value to all of them. And I would also say, this is not going to make sense, but this one is probably the most valuable to people out there right now. And so there we go. And hopefully the person who I made this for can watch and I leave things in. So moms and dads out there going through this one's for you. And I also want to point out a couple things. Man, guys, sorry I left you in the waiting room on the Zoom call, but we're back here. Okay, so guys that are on the Zoom, we have our votes. I feel bad about leaving some of you guys out, but we're going with the trial prep evidence testimony thing. It's in a real specific way. And you know what? You who starts with a J, I'm going to make you the host. If you leave, pass the call to me so you can no, you know what? I have the waiting room turned on. Let me try and turn that off because I didn't mean to do that. And this might be just too annoying for the people on the live stream. So we may just keep that waiting room on. F it. I'll make you the host. If you need to leave and you're the host, just pass the call back to me if you don't know how to do that, end the call, and I'll start it again for the dudes. But I'm sorry, I did it with the waiting room. Running 3 live streams at once can be difficult. Okay, who's ready for this one? I am ready. This one is really, really, really awesome. It's really meant for all the people who are out there who are entering into a custody battle and you might go to trial. And what we're going to look at in this is we're going to look at preparation for trial, which you should always be preparing for. So if you're a dad and you're fighting for the rights of your kids, and if you're a mom too, but I make content mainly for dads, a lot of women have been following it. And this was actually inspired by working with a woman on her case. If you're in this situation, you're going to know that all of your fight needs to be so that you can go to trial. Okay, so that you can go. But in addition to all of that, you need everything before trial. Statistically, more than likely, you're going to win this before you go to trial. Now, if you're in trial, this will be helpful for you. So the reason why I'm saying all that is we're going to go through as much as I can in a small window so that you can learn this, right? You can learn it and do it. I'm also going to say that if you follow me on social media, that's awesome. I put out a lot of free content, but it's going to be even better if you join my email list because it's just pure content, man. Pure content. We put out the dad to dad emails, which are going to tell you just situations that come up from my coaching and how to solve them. These are going to have to do with your mentality, evidence organization, how you win, right? You're going to get the 30 and 30 high conflict, and that's changing to be even more awesome. So we're going to put in a bunch of stuff on dealing with narcissistic abuse, and you may have seen my other content on that. It takes a very different angle, and it's going to be even better. So we not only have a course that I'm going to make for free and available for you on that, but there's going to be just a ton. And all of that is not just for the narcissistic abuse, but it's how you can take that so that you can win in court. So you can take their personality disorder that will go into borderline and toxic behavior. It's not just NPD. Like NPD is the starting place. There's many different roads that come from it. And we have to look at the pattern of the behavior. How do you process it? All that sort of good stuff. But then how do you use that in a tactical way so that you can win in court? Now, I'm also going to say in this, there's no guarantees. Where this all comes from is from the longest running group that has the highest amount of dads who've won custody of their kids in all sorts of situations. That could be pro se, that could be with attorneys, that could be, well, it's always going to be a complicated case that's hard. We only start out in high conflict. Our guys win and they lose, but we have the largest group of that talks every single day. Our WhatsApp group is out of control the last 2 days. I can't even keep up with it. There's so much going on with it. And so in that, this is where this information comes. All right. So this all comes from working with people. Like I worked with somebody for today on this and went through their case, and I've been working with them for a couple of weeks on their case privately. And this is where it comes from. Where that comes from is from these guys on calls in my group every day for 17 years. And in December, actually, it will be 18 years. So, and I've been doing this for 20 years. So there's all sorts of different things in it. All right. What we want to look at here is organizing ourselves for trial. Okay. So what we want to look at when we're entering into high conflict and we're setting up our case to win, organize evidence, make our points. If we're going to lose anything, we lose it tactically, and we come in with that sort of organization. We have to know that, and there's not a lot of information on it. So step one in all of this, we're going to examine any claims made against us. In fact, where this is going to be set up and where this is voiced is how can we look at what the other party is saying about us. So there will be other videos that look at how can we attack the other party in whatever things. But in high conflict, oftentimes we're being accused of things. All right. So we're starting off here with step one. What is the claim? What is the accusation? So in order to look at that, we have to have a list of what is the opposing party claiming. So she restricts my communication with my child. She is emotionally unstable. She creates chaos in exchanges. The child doesn't want to return home. It could be that he's abusive. It could be that the children hate him. And if you're a woman watching this, it could be vice versa. All of this could be the same, right? It could be that he's an alcoholic, she's an alcoholic, he's a drug addict, she's a drug addict. So what are the claims, okay? We have to list all of these things down. And right now, people are watching this and they're going like, Steve, just tell me the thing. I want you to tell me the thing so I can do it because I'm good enough to do it. This is a bad idea. This is not what you want to do. Like I'm actually telling you the thing and you're going to have to do a lot of footwork. You need to know this. If you're in a custody battle and you expect an answer to be given that you can just figure out on your own, this is the pathway to lose tragically. You might not, but everybody I know that does has this in their case, right? So we want to go, all right, I'm going to have to put in some footwork here. And the first thing is, what are the ways they can attack me? So if you were to join my groups, I'm going to email you a questionnaire. And the last one is what is the dirty laundry on you? What is the dirty laundry on her? Okay, so you have to list that out. If this is too hard for you, what I would actually recommend you doing this, what I did was I talked to friends. Okay, I talked to friends, had them go through it. I also had some lawyer friends that went through it. And they were able to tell me what's valid, what's not, right? But this can be hard. And when you're going through a custody battle, you could be mentally and emotionally rocked. That's okay. Everybody is. You're supposed to be. If you think you're so awesome that you're not, it's just not going to work out too well for you. You are. You're affected. It's your kids, man. It's the things that are the most important for you. So we need to be able to checklist all of that off. Now, another thing you could do more easily is you could record yourself or something like that. Maybe you don't want it to be evidence. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you delete it. I don't know. And you could then go through ChatGPT and talk conversationally back and forth or Claude or whatever it is to get a list of all the different things that you might be being attacked with. Now, just know this is all your before court stuff. This is all before, maybe you have an attorney, maybe you've been to court. This is all of your preparation. You need to understand what the claims are against you, okay? That is your starting place. If you're on your back foot, you're being accused of something, write that all down in every which way. It could be disorganized, but we're trying to organize it. So now what we want to look at is how could this be used against you, all right? Now, you might be thinking, she's saying I'm a narcissist, or she's saying I'm abusive, or whatever the situation is, right? If there's somebody attacking you in a high conflict situation, they're going to be attacking you in a way that fulfills them, okay? Actually, there's two ways. But in high conflict, usually crazy people are attacking us. So it's usually a beneficial thing to them. So they're attacking you so that they can convince their friends that it's a good reason why you guys broke up. So you broke up because you were so evil that they had to leave. That's usually the narrative with somebody who has NPD or something. So you need to now do this second step where you go, how is this used against me? Now, in order to do this, you need to start understanding the law. So you need to understand how is this going to navigate in the law. If they're saying I'm abusive, you don't like that, you think it's a lie, you think it's wrong, you think whatever. Well, what you're going to go to court for and what a judge is going to determine isn't that she's lying, isn't that whatever. It's, are you abusive or not? Are you parentally alienating the kids or not? In your court system, do they care about parental alienation? Has it set precedent? Is there conflict between co-parenting? Are there mental illnesses? Are there addictions at place? So when we look at what's being used against you or what's being claimed against you, we have to start looking at how do we how is this going to be relevant in court, right? So what's the legal narrative? What's the emotional narrative? The emotional narrative goes to your men's group, goes to your, hopefully skilled and seasoned support group for this, whether it's men or women, not just about something that's going to tell you to forgive prematurely, or you get over it, or you read a couple books and then you're alpha again. Hopefully it's a seasoned one that knows that, or your therapist. That's where the emotional stuff goes. Therapist, mental health, support group, whatever, all those things. And it's really important. But everything about your court case needs to go to the legal side. And what's the legal narrative? So the emotional narrative, very different than the legal narrative. Two different roads, and they'll screw each other. If you work your court case in the emotional way, you're cooked. All right. So you need to look at what are the laws. So when we look at the laws, let's go over a few ways to start with that. First thing I would do is I would go on Claude or ChatGPT or DeepSeek or Qwen or any Grok, whatever it is, and say, I'm in Texas. I would say, what is the Texas Family Code? I'm in a custody battle. What does this look like? Okay. I would ask for references to the website, and it should be able to give it to you with the link so that you can read it. It's going to be gigantic. And then you're going to ask for it to be simplified. Then you're going to ask for all the claims being made against you. You're going to say, what does this mean? So she's saying I'm violent. She's saying I'm bad with the kids. The kids don't like me. Where does this work in the Texas Family Code? And tell me in plain English. Everybody talks about prompts, and that's what you type into an AI or an LLM or whatever. And that's good. You should learn all about prompting. I'm all for that. But you could probably get away with a conversation back and forth with it before you go down the rabbit hole of that. Okay, so that's important. So if you don't want to use AI, you should watch my video on that. It's on YouTube. It's a good one. If you don't want to watch, or if you don't want to do AI, then you can do this other thing. So whether you do AI or not, you should do this other thing. You should then hire some attorneys to have, you hire them for just the consult, or maybe you get a free consult, but quality is good here. You don't want a friend attorney. You want a family law attorney that is used to high conflict custody battles. That's what you want. And so then you need to go in and interview those attorneys. Man, my friend Stephen Grush is here. What's up, man? Everybody should hire Stephen for anything. Tactical, martial arts stuff, fighting, talking to women, whatever it is. True badass, awesome guy. I wish you were here. We should hang out. We've hung out so much. Great guy. He deserves a shout out. So when we're going through this whole thing of talking to attorneys, we need to look at what are these attorneys good at? How do we talk to them? You should watch my video on finding a family law attorney, but we're just interviewing them so that we can understand more about our case. We go through all these accusations that are emotionally rich for us, and we go, how are these relevant in family court? Many of them are not going to be relevant in family court. Okay, the third thing that you do, okay, and this is really, really important. Most people dismiss this because they say, you have a men's group, Steve. You're just trying to sell us on it. Well, I am, but I'm also telling you, you can form your own. That's what I did. Steve knows that. Stephen Grush knows that. He knows that I made, he knows it. I made communities for men that had problems and figured out solutions. And we solved things. You could do it too. It's a lot of work, but you could do it. So with this, you start to find men who've been through this, okay, who've been through this, and they're not just angry and want to change the government. That's cool. You should want to do that. You should want to change the laws. They're screwed up. They're screwed up for everybody. But we go through it and we ask guys who've been there and done that, and hopefully successfully. So I think it's actually less important if they've won or lost here, but if they've gone through the entire experience, and do they help other men with it? That's the important thing. So they, for real, work with men on this and understand a wide spectrum of what goes on in family court. That's the most important thing. Okay. Winning is really good too. It's really important. But the whole thing is amazing, right? It's huge. It's in awe. So you have to look at guys that have done that and then run through how are these things relevant in custody. Okay. So in that whole step of step 2 of how could this be used against you under family law, what do? We look up the laws, we talk to attorneys, and then we get around other men who understand the situation and we ask what is relevant. Because if we enter into a courtroom in any level, so whether we're testifying in a trial, if we're in a deposition, if we're just filling out, if we're doing our affidavits or whatever it is, if we waste the court's time, the court will dismiss us. We want everything to function. We don't want to bring in our emotions. We want to bring in our legal strategy and tactic only. All men tell me they're good at this and they F it up. Why? Because they're emotionally fueled. I know you don't like hearing that, but just think of this. The best parts of you are your kids. They're being taken away from you. You're affected by it. Just accept it. You are, okay? I actually hate like when I talk to different therapists about what I do or come up with different programs, they go, well, men are just, they hide their emotions. I'm like, look, that's not it. Stop right there. Stop right there. Because if you are affected by this, you don't need a lecture on what it's like to be a man or do the right man thing. You need help to get your mind and your emotions right, to be set so you can do your very difficult legal battle. But you're affected, and I understand it, and I get it. And I just lead guys every day to win their only high conflict cases, to win them. And I'm telling you, I understand it, and you need to get a grip on it in the right way, okay? So you need to know how all of this could affect you legally. You cannot be unclear about that. Make sense? I think it makes sense. So then we have to go, okay, what evidence are they going to attack us with on this? And really think about this. They're claiming that we're abusive. How are they going to attack us? And all the guys who have false allegations out there, you're going, man, I got a DVPO, I'm screwed. Maybe. I don't know yet. But that doesn't mean you should give up and stop listening. Like, we need to look at how they're going to present evidence, what that evidence is, and be realistic from it. So here's some of the stops. When I was discussing this earlier today, part of the discussion was, oh my God, I'm screwed. I'm going to have to spend more money. Okay. I don't know that yet. Part of the evidence might be that the protective order has police documentation, body cam stuff of evidence is going to work against you. You automatically think you're hopeless. Okay? You might be guaranteed to lose. We can't think that right now. And I'll actually tell you the situation of where this came from. So this person's about to go to trial. They're working with their attorneys. They spent like all of their money on this. We all know what that feels like, or most of us do, right? They're just screwed, right? They can't see anything. And their attorneys say, you know what? I don't think it's a good idea to go to trial. So then they called me and they said, Steve, they said it may not be good to go to trial because there's not a strong enough case for this, this, and that. And more could be accomplished in a hearing. Now, this is true. And this is also partially because they switched lawyers. Now, this is common, right? And somebody wrote in here, that's why I'm fearing going pro se. Please watch my videos on this. Please go to my YouTube now and watch videos that have to do with pro se, organizing your case, the family law process. Please watch everybody else's videos. It's cool. Get whatever you can in that information. But at some point, you're going to have to pick a direction and really go. So it's always like choose one way and go with it, right? Get my free stuff, get on my high conflict custody list. You'll just have a wealth of stuff that I give you, all for free. And yes, at the bottom of it, it's like, if you have the money, sign up for my groups, but you don't have to, right? I actually don't want you to sign up if you can't afford it, or, you know, it's going to screw you over in some way or conflict with something. The group is tight knit for a reason. right? So we only have people that want to be there. So in all of this, the client was telling me, if we go to a hearing, that means it might get rescheduled. It's going to cost more. My retainer is going to be eaten up. I don't have any more money for whatever. And I was like, stop. Okay, stop. That could all be true. And the opposing counsel is highly manipulative. They're going to win over these people. If I have more third parties, you don't understand, Steve. You know, she is a black belt, triple coral, red belt level. If you don't know what that is, train more jujitsu, of a narcissist. And you're just, this can't happen. No more third parties. And so I said, okay, we got to think about this clearly first, right? And then a lot of times people might have a spiritual component to all sorts of stuff. And so I'll speak to them where they're at. I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't care if you're atheist or agnostic or hyper religious. As long as we're talking, we can take you here. And I said, in terms of their religion, what about like anxiety and fear does your scriptures or whatever say? You know, we can't think that. We have to be clear-headed. We have to be clear-headed right now. Okay, so let's go back and look at this. Now, every man guarantees me he's good at this, but when you're losing your kids, right, the best part about you, this could mess you up. In a way, you should be honored about it. It is the most badass alpha male thing, whatever you want, right? It's awesome. Your suffering, your inability to think in this. It's an example of the greatest part about you. Don't deny that. Get the right help around it. Okay? Don't listen to the dude that fakes it, that does the fake man thing, that shows strength through steroids and, you know, virtue signaling to weak men that he's a strong man. Don't listen to that. Listen to the guys who've actually done it. Okay? So we have to have a clear head, and we have to assess what's going on. You have a trial coming up. Your attorneys are breaking this down. From what you're showing me and telling me, I actually agree with them. But the good news is if it does get rescheduled, so the judge may not approve of this, but if it does get continued or turned into a hearing, then you don't have to pay for the trial. You might have to pay for more prep work with the hearing, and more than likely, it looks like you're going to move into gathering more evidence from third parties. Okay? So the thing here is that to me seems like the smarter idea. Okay, but now we have money losing, whatever, We have to be able to look at our evidence in a way that has experience in winning. In our panic, which tells us she's taking the kids away from us, our panic, which tells us the attorneys are screwing me, all the dudes who are saying that they lost online, and I believe them, they lost. I lost, and then I won. Try and listen to me on this, right? Like, I don't know what evidence I have to show you. It's not just me winning. There's tons of dudes. There's guys on the Zoom call right now who have won hard criminal cases and gotten back custody. That's hard. It's not easy, right? So in that, I'm telling you that if there's a better strategy, you want to know it. Okay, so the panic telling you it's not going to work, the family courts suck, my judge is evil, like liberalism is attacking me, or whatever, you know, some political faction is horrible, this is going against my values, all of that's fueling your panic. Okay, you have a court case in front of you that you need evidence for, and you need to stop and focus only on that with no emotion, which is really hard to ask for, but you got to do that. Man, what a horrible thing. Guess what? There's a ton of guys who could probably help you that aren't just bitching about the laws and the evils of family court. You can bitch about that. You can all you want. I'm all for it, actually. Just focus on your case and not do that when you're focusing on your case. So you need to start going, what evidence can they present? How does it fit into the process of family court? I haven't brought this up on this video, but I bring it up on all of them. You should be watching family court. You can watch almost every day of the week, 5 days a week, family court sessions all over in California, in Texas, in Washington, multiple states. It's better if you can watch your judge, but I'm just going to say this. You can probably only watch your judge once a week if you can, and you might not be able to watch your judge at all. But if you're in this, some of the guys who've won the best cases in my group, the most hardcore, you all think your case is bad, and then when you hear theirs, you'd be like, oh, gee, okay. What they did was they would watch family court religiously. Sometimes they would leave my calls and they'd say, Steve, I'm sorry, I can't make your Friday call anymore because it conflicts with family court. I'd be, man, Jesus. God, you're dedicated. And the people that did that made big wins. So you should watch family court. You should understand the process. You should understand how their evidence, so the evidence they have against you, similar cases as yours. And I guarantee you there's a case that has some similarities. So 5 days a week, there's going to be cases, a lot, that have similarities in yours. Maybe the baby mama didn't act in a certain way or whatever, but false allegations, crazy, NPD, BPD, false sex abuse allegations, like all this sort of stuff. You can find those in family court. You can find them there, okay? Now, the ones that have to do with the higher levels of abuse, they're not going to be as public, but what you'll see is those referenced in the courtroom. So a woman will try and make a man a sex abuser when it's not on the record anywhere else, and so it's allowed to be publicized. The ones where they're investigating abuse like that, those will be cut out. You can see that. It's the best free stuff you can get, man. It's free, okay? Again, I'll do anything for my kids, but anything seems to be, I'm going to stay on TikTok or YouTube and complain. And I'm going to watch the fanboy. I'm going to become one of the fanboys of masculinity, right? And watch dudes who basically play the part of what being a man is to sell to you bullshit. And that's what we're making. I mean, man, we as men, we bitch about a lot of stuff, but we made that. Your views help that grow. Man, what is the real cancer in society? I mean, I think there's a lot of them, but that's definitely one of them. So we want to look at what evidence they're going to use against us. We need to know what that is. So let's get off of my tirade about all this sort of stuff and go to some brass tacks things. They say you're abusive. How are they going to show that in court? Are there going to be text messages? Is there going to be video? Is there going to be photographs? Is there a sheriff's body cam? What do they have? You need to look at it. You need to organize it. And yes, it could probably most likely traumatize you. I did it. I mean, man, one of the reasons why I'm friends with Stephen Grush, another shout out to this dude, is there were so many people in the men's development community that turned their backs on me when I had false allegations. The thing, like, again, this is an issue for you guys, and you guys are getting into men's rights and all this sort of crap. This is my life, man, for 19 years. Man, I'm not going to do this because it's a live stream, but Steven gave me a knife that I still use. Awesome guy. You know when he gave me that? Actually, I can't get it. He also showed me a flashlight, a tactical flashlight, because both of us did all similar martial arts. He's much more experienced than I in it, but it's like you don't meet too many, like I did Vunak stuff and he did Sayak stuff, and I don't want to misrepresent him, but he's much better at it than me, okay? And he got me this flashlight. I still have it. It's on my backpack. I wear it every day. It's the most used tool I've had internationally. It's the best, all right? Awesome. Great dude. But the reason why I'm friends with Steve is because of this. Men's development, the charismatic speakers, the guys who wear the costume of what being a man is supposed to be, the guys who share all the knowledge and theory of whatever it is to our dying breed of men, is in 2012 when I went to jail for false allegations. There were very few people who supported me and many people left. So the thing that you're going through now that's making you want to be involved in this has been my life. And before that, and people did, like, man, well, you probably, you might have done, if you did it, you can tell me. I got a lot of that and it sucked. And Steve did not give a shit about that. So cool, man. Where do we go from here? I don't know about those things. Let's do this. That was his mentality. And so for a guy to actually care about men's issues and do the right thing, let me just tell you how rare that is. That is so rare. In between Stephen Grush and I, we know a lot of people. He knows one of the most famous people. And man, they're just so full of shit. It's gross. So I love the fact that that your custody case brought you to all the shit men go through, but focus on your case, man, and start to follow better people. I don't want to talk too much shit specifically on other people because that never works out well for anybody. But Steve is definitely the real deal. And one of the reasons why I will always support him. And man, Steve, I hope is a good friend of mine that hit you up. I hope he hired you. I think you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to say his name because he'll freak the fuck out. So yeah. Go with him. Okay. So you need to get your mind off of all the gossip and go with what works. How are they going to attack you? Find it out, look at it. If you did number 2, you know what that evidence is, or you know what they could attack you with, and then you know how to formulate that evidence. All right. Number 4, okay? Number 4 is what evidence can you present? Now, you need to understand the structure of the whole family court process for this. So if you're just starting out and you are looking at like, man, she lied, she said this and that, dude, no. Learn the process of the court, watch family court, learn what they're attacking you with, and learn what's important. So you're not going to court because she lied. You're going to court to see if you are what she says you are. That's what it is. Now, you think it would make sense that she lied. I've been there, man. I've been there. I wish I had me in 2012, right? So in that whole thing, when it comes down to it, you have to look at what evidence do you have towards this. So she's a liar, cool. Let's put it over there. If there's false accusations or you're being attacked in some way. But first, you got to defend yourself. And you got to understand how that evidence is going to work. And if you have time and you're not going to trial yet, you have to start. So if you're 6 weeks away from trial, 3 months away from trial, you can start thinking, how can I gather the right evidence? Can I do depositions? Man, my deposition saved my ass. Boom, done. Did the deposition, no more case. They have to settle or she is really screwed. Going to jail, loses custody, protective orders, all that sort of stuff, right? This is what my deposition did because there was no trial set yet, okay? If I have 3 months, I can start looking at, okay, how can a therapist help? What kind of therapist do I need? I probably need a court-appointed therapist. Okay, would a GAL help? Everybody goes, man, they're going to screw you. They have immunity. They can't, they're against men. I hear all these horror stories about it. Totally true. Like if you get a GAL and you're a guy and you have accusations against you, you're on your back foot, man. But if you want to step forward in certain ways in family law, like if you want psych evals, if you want a custody evaluator, more than likely you need to start out with a GAL or a friend of the court. Okay? So more than likely that's there. Then you need to learn, how do you use that person? How do you get one? How do you request one? Do you need a hearing to get one? So all these things you think about, if you're entering into your case, then you got more than 6 weeks and something like 3 months or more. And if you're at 3 months, you actually don't know. Could take 6 months, right? But if you're in 3 months, you can start looking at how do we set up evidence for this? Okay. So if we're in that, and let me actually go through a few more if we're within 6 weeks, 3 months, right? Okay, can I get a custody evaluator? What do they do? What are they for? It's a real strong witness. What happens if attorneys get assigned to my children? Is that an option? Am I in New York? where this could be possible, or other states, like so Texas could get an amicus attorney or something like that. It could be an option. How could that hurt you? How could that help you? How are you designing your case? You might be going, man, it's too hard. Let me tell you what's going to make this infinitely easier. Go to the free family court, whatever, in your courthouse in your county, and try and watch family court. And if they say, we're not open to the public, you go and look up Harris County, Dallas County, you look up Washington State stuff, California, and you watch family court online. And you watch 15 cases if you're really serious. Again, because if you're going to do anything for your kids, it isn't complaining online. You might need to do that. It's doing these things that really suck and are boring. But I have a job. Man, it's going to save you thousands. You watch family court, it's going to save you thousands of dollars in mistakes. The easiest free thing you can do. It's not the only thing you have to do. That's dependent upon doing other things, but man, that is where you start. Okay, so you look at what kind of evidence do I need to argue my case that I can be proactive with. Okay, so number 3 was, what evidence can they have against me? What evidence can I have to defend myself? What is the defense? It's not that she's a liar. That may come later, right? It's that, how did I not do this? How does the court hear the language that I'm a safe parent? How does the court see that what witnesses are important, like really important, kind of like the only witnesses that you need, you know, to say that you are a good parent? And these would be things like the GALs, custody evaluators, friends of the court. It could be court-appointed therapists. It's not just any therapist. And it's not just teachers and doctors. Those are kind of lower level witnesses. You want the big witnesses. And if you can get all that in the mix, then we can start going, she's a liar. Okay? But that's not your argument you start with. Now, what I did in my last case, which was very, very good, and what I think people should look into, is depositions. So this could also be things like, so if you're 6 weeks to a month, I don't know. Anyway, well, let's just stay with that 6 weeks, 3 weeks thing. I was going to go a month to, or 6 weeks to 3 months. I was going to go 1 month to 3 months. Anyway, whatever. But if you have some time, depositions, your discovery is really important. What is discovery, right? So this is the evidence that you're requesting from them, which they can delay and delay and delay. And what evidence do you have? What evidence can you request? Can you do interrogatories? Can you do affidavits? Are they compliant with them? You also then need to start thinking, what's going to look good in court? So not just the evidence that's going to present a good thing for me, what's also going to be good? Am I offering to mediate? Okay, so oftentimes mediation, the decisions in there can't be entered into court. Okay, so if there's something discussed, it may not be able to be entered into court. Some places it can. You got to look at that. You need to go to family court. You need to watch your judge if possible, and you need to look at your laws if possible. And you need to be interviewing attorneys around your area so you can know what is allowed and what's not. And they're going to like you better if you know these things. If you act like you know it all, they'll hate you, and every judge will hate you, and you need to not do that. But if you study things on your own and you go, man, well, I've looked at this and I want to look at that, don't tell a lawyer or a judge how the law works. It's just not a good idea. All right. So when you're looking at all the different things that you can present for yourself, you want to look at, what about the discovery process? What about the pre-hearing, pre-trial process can I do that's going to make me look good? Have you thought about that? Because I want you to think about that. So if I go to court and I say, well, I did these things, Your Honor, you know, I'm trying. I don't want to be in court. I don't want to waste your time. Okay, these could be things like offering solutions. So let's say they're not letting you come to jujitsu practice. So this was the thing with me and my kids. My kids were going to a jujitsu tournament. I didn't find out about any of it. Okay, I want to offer a solution. So instead of going down to the jujitsu school and going, look, man, I'm ranked under these people, like F you, that really isn't a good argument ever to do. But you could, right? You could say that, like, I want this. You tell me and respect it, right? I want to keep the politics out of it. Don't let me pull the ripcord of jujitsu drama. Okay, so I could do that. That wouldn't be a good solution to show in court. But I could say, Your Honor, I was being kept in these ways. I don't want this to be in court. So I tried to talk to the different instructors, and apparently there was something said. I don't know what it was, but now the instructors won't talk to me. I've been cordial in these ways. I sent these emails, these letters. Here it is. This is what I've done to help solve a problem, which isn't really defined in family court, but happens all the time in family court. Okay, there could also be things like with the school. Well, Austin ISD, Austin Independent School District, has this rule where they only send the information to one parent. Okay, I think that's terrible. This causes so many problems, right? You can imagine, right? And then you go to the schools like me and you say, why am I not being, it says on my parenting plan that it's equal, parenting, decision-making, whatever with schools. Why aren't you messaging me? And then the school tells me, this is AISD. This isn't our problem. We can't help you. So, well, is there a solution we can do? So this makes me mad. Like, let's say I've already been alienated. I was alienated before, then the school switches, and then I got started again, and I don't know the process, which why would I know the process, right? This is, again, why you should be in a men's group, because we've had these problems. I've had this problem. And it makes me mad why I can't understand this, so I come off with an attitude. Or let's say I don't come off with an attitude. Let's say I'm like real nice. I come in prepared. I come in with my parenting plan in, my court documents, and I try and be rational. And this definitely happens. And I come in, and because I'm a dad, I get treated differently. Okay. And they're afraid. And then let's say they call the campus security or whatever. This happens. This is horrible, right? And this is how horrible it is. This has happened and been documented. Like it was recorded. And then your next step is you have to sue the school district, which I think in these cases, it's pretty bad. There should be something which makes principals and staff trained in this, and maybe a lawsuit is the best way. But that's a really hard thing to do when you're fighting for custody. Like, who has the time for that? But this is horrible, right? So campus security comes. Man, guess what happens if they get a restraining order against you? That's going to affect your custody case. So if that happens, you need to understand what the process is in all of this. Like, you don't want a school or a doctor's office to be witness testimony against you. They're probably, a GAL and this sort of thing is better, but it can be turned against you like that. If you're a man, you need to know that. So you need to walk in prepared. You need to be able to talk to them. You need to understand that if they're not answering you properly, if they're not understanding, you might just need to leave, and then you call the superintendent. You try and go up the chain of the command and understand that any of those people could see you as a violent, angry man that a judge can instantly see. This might be reason, just to be on the safe side, to award a restraining order or protective order against you. So you want to be able to move with your rights in the right way. The same thing goes for GALs. Don't screw that up. That'll be the worst, right? So you need to look at that. You need to understand what you're trying to get. Where is this going to play out in court? Why is it that you're trying to find solutions as a dad? So here's the other thing too. I want to show, okay, I was told by my ex that my kids can't do overnights at my house because I'm not studying enough with them, and the teacher signed off on this. This is another real story that has happened. And so I need to know properly how to go to that school and find out if this is true. I need to know how to properly try and find a solution towards this, and not say, you're lying, see you in court, BITCH or whatever it is. I don't want to do that, because in some states also, like in Texas, if I'm getting that wouldn't necessarily, parental alienation is a tough thing to argue, but I need to look at okay, what about misinformation? What about lying about schoolwork when it's in my court order? What about trying to interfere with teachers? How can I properly get the evidence that isn't going to be used against me by miscommunicating or organizing the wrong stuff or whatever it is, so that I can make a case to say that there's this part of the law that needs to be interpreted, and I'm always trying to find a solution. So it's a fairly long-winded, improvised answer to that. If you run into family court, the process is really important to understand, so you can always be finding solutions and not conflict, so that when it goes in front of the court, it's a good thing. So if you're within that 6-week window and you're coming up to your trial, this is different. You're not going to be able to rely on therapists, doubtfully GALs, stuff like that. So you can't gather any new evidence. You have to start looking at what evidence do I already have that can be used to show what I'm supposed to show. So you're still probably thinking to show that she's a liar and the courts are unfair. And I'm going to walk in and I'm going to plant the American flag and say the Constitution is this or whatever, right? No. You're there only to show whatever it is they're saying. So I'm a safe parent. I didn't do these things. And if there is something that is there, we have to understand what to do with that, which is actually the next thing in this. But before I get to that, we have to really look at what evidence do we have and what evidence, so do we already have? What evidence can we get if we can get it? And what's the process of the courts to tell that? Everybody thinks they know that and they don't. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If it happens to me, I'm not going to know because it's too hard to think about it. Okay. So I'm the guy, and I hate to say this, the only guy that has a group that regularly wins, that at least I know of, that talks every day. Okay. So I'm that guy. I don't know any other people that have that. And I wish there were more because I'm not like super awesome for that. I just have done that. There's nothing abnormally special about me, at least that you would care about. My mom thinks there's special things about me, but I'm the guy that has done that and that regularly talks to guys who win. And I've won and I've taken guys to win only high conflict, the worst kidnappings, false abuse allegations. Like I talked to a guy in prison today. Like I'm dealing with that only. The people that everybody turned their back on. And I'm telling you, with all of my knowledge, confidence in the guy that built that, I wouldn't be able to think straight. So I'm going to say, hey, dudes in my group who've won and I trust, what can I do? What can I do? I can't think straight. I'm saying that. Now, if you can find me a guy that did the badass, whatever it is, definition of man, that did it in the most alpha way, could always hold on to his shit. You can find me that guy and show me his case and show me that he's done that. I'd listen to him. I'd want to know I'd be curious, but I'd also say it's not the only way because I did it in this other way. But I don't know any guys like that. And here's what I know about guys like that. They lose the worst because they've never lost. They're used to continuing to fight. They fight in the wrong ways and they screw themselves over in the worst ways, is violence and attacking. Like they come across, I'm not saying they are, but it gets read that way. So I'm just telling you that there's a process and your ego needs to take a back seat and you need to go, man, how do I do this? What did that pussy Steve who did all this shit for all the people that were given up on, what did he say? Oh, he said, ask people who know. Okay. So I think that that's a good idea. Now, here's the other thing that's controversial about what I say is step 5 in this, when we're going over what we need to prepare for court, is step 5 is admit where we're wrong. How do we admit fault properly? Dude, everybody that wants to say they're like really smart tells me a story about how they always say, man, you follow the money, or they tell me some shit they saw from a movie is a quote to set up the stage to say how smart they are. And they say that they were able to do something, kind of get something for nothing, one of those things. They were going to admit fault, but in the right way that could trick the system. And because they knew constitutional law, it was like, boom. and then the judge dropped down on their knees and saw them as the new version of Jesus, and that, whatever. That doesn't happen. So here's what's important about admitting fault. There's things that you probably don't realize are going to work against you in your custody case that would not be valuable to you winning your case. They're better if you abandon. There's also things that you did wrong that are just wrong. Okay, so if you go back to number one in this, right? What are they going to attack you with? Then you go to number two. How do we determine this in court? How does the court see this? How is the law interpreted in this? Like, what does this mean? If you know those things, you can then, if you have a clear mind, right? If you're able to ask other people for help and perspective and all that sort of stuff, you can then go, okay, I actually didn't pick up my kids all the time. Or one time I forgot and they waited. This is like bad, right? That would be bad in custody. But you're going, but I'm going to lose my kids. But she's going to be right. But they're going to see her as the truth and she's lying. Okay, if you did that and you can't argue it, you have to think of this. So this goes into this category of admitting fault. Do we admit it? Okay. And then how? How do we admit it without incriminating ourselves? Okay, how do we admit it in a way where it doesn't hurt us in certain ways? If it is going to hurt us, how can we get around the question? Now, lying in court, you can't do. But you could plead the fifth. I'd probably be a bad idea in this situation. But you can do certain things that you have to be aware of. And you probably don't know them. Even if you're an attorney, you probably don't know them because you can't think straight right now. Not because you're weak, but because your kids, the most important, the thing that defines you in your life and everything that can mean something, that is on the line right now. So you can't think straight. Okay, so if you did something wrong, like, man, one time I forgot to pick up my kids. Did that happen or not? Yes. That's it. No explanation. If you need to explain, so we're probably not going to get into this too much. If you need to explain, when your attorney takes your testimony, that's where you get to explain. When the other attorney, no, you just answer as little as possible. We're going to kind of get into that part of testifying and so on, but not too much. That's another video, and this is already pretty long. So that's that. But we need to look at, like, okay, what is it that I have done wrong in this? Don't try and say you're perfect. Don't try and skate around certain things. Don't try and cheat. Don't try and get something for nothing. There's somebody before you that has had the same problem as you, that's probably going to family court tomorrow or the next day or sometime this week, that you could watch for free. And most of them are going to screw this up. And they're going to get it wrong, and they're going to try and lie. Okay? Or they're going to try and minimize it. They're going to try and explain. And you got to know, if there's a fault, there's a fault. Okay, so one thing with me, at the time, during my case, I was training super hardcore in jiu-jitsu. Crazy. In fact, I dislocated my neck. I was training so hard. That is not an injury you want. This, seriously, like, that's not fun or cool. It has changed my life, right? So you don't want that. But I was training so hard that sometimes I would take CBD, right? So if you don't know this about me, I've been sober for a long time. So at this point, well, only the day matters, right? But it's many years, right? And that's important to me. So one of the things is we were going to use drug tests. We were going to lead. What evidence do we need, right? What are they trying to say about me? What evidence can I say about them? Okay. How can I defend myself? How can I also build a case that'll make me look good in court to go after them? So I said, fuck it, man. I'm going to take the hardest drug test, and I'm going to take all of them. As many panels as we can do that will be the most hardcore evidence. So there's hair follicle, there's body hair, there's nail, there's toenail. Okay, and body hair and toenail can do a lot. valid 1 year, whatever. I said, man, I'm going to take it, go and take it. And I go, oh shit. I may have taken some CBD type stuff or whatever. And my attorney goes, man, forget it. Like, just tell him, like, if it pops, tell him you smoked weed. And I'm like, but I didn't. Like, this is a hardcore thing in my life. I'm super proud of it. He's like, Steve, I'm telling you what's going to work to make this a non-issue. Long story short is I didn't have to make that decision because I came out clean with nothing for over a year. But if that would have come into play, and had I been advising myself along with him, even though in my moment and during that time, I would be like, fuck that. I'm not saying that. You know, I'm going to tell him I took a gummy for muscle relief, right? I probably would have said that. If I were giving myself advice, dude, who fucking cares? Who cares? Nobody cares. Everybody knows my history with addiction. I can do whatever is necessary for it. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit if it comes up in court that there was like a minute amount of THC that came through gummies or whatever pops for it, right? I don't care. But what's going to win the case? What's going to tell the narrative to the court? Okay, so if I had to admit fault there, that would actually be lying. Maybe I shouldn't say that. My attorney was ill-advising me. He was giving me a suggestion, right? So in that moment, right, there's something that could be used against me that would be more conflict to argue. All right? So that's important to understand. Where am I wrong? See, what's happening with guys in this is they're going, you're saying I'm wrong, it's saying she's right, and then justice and the Bible or the Constitution, like, no, I stand for that. Dude, you probably didn't give a shit about that stuff until this happened. Or maybe you did. Okay, let's just say you did. Let me tell you something. Do you want to win or not? You want to win or not? Follow the path of winning. The path of winning isn't written in whatever thing you're looking at, whether that's the Quran, the Bible, the Buddhist texts, you know, Sanskrit, Bhagavad Gita stuff. It's not, that's a different thing, right? Family court, there's a different strategy to winning that you need to find out, that you need to find from people that are winning. Okay? Very, very important. So you need to look at that. You might need to admit fault with stuff, and it's not a bad idea. What did the people that win did? Okay? I get so much shit for this. Go with what wins. And I get it. It's hard to do, but don't sit there and tell me it's about some religious belief or your upstanding morals or the Constitution, because the court isn't arguing any of those things. I know that sucks to hear. That really, really sucks. But then change the laws after you win your case, after you do everything you can to win your case. So let me ask you something. If you're a guy and let's say standing up while you pee is one of the things, and if I said for 1 year you would get your kids back and have a court document that would last till they're 18 or 23, that would last if you just sat down to pee and everybody knew it, like somehow they could just see it on you. You fucking gave up. You're badass shit for that. Would you do it? Yeah, probably. Sounds pretty easy, right? So all I'm asking you to do is, in family court, don't expect it to uphold constitutional law. Don't expect it to care about your religious virtues or morals. Don't expect it to care about what you think and believe. And I would even say, if you're going to say that, then live it. Live it in all of your life. And hopefully that means you lived it before, because if you didn't, then you're just somebody in pain that's reaching for answers, which is great because desperation shapes all of us, right? Desperation is awesome. But what do you do after you find the truth? What do? You should live that way. So I would usually guess people that cite some sort of religious or spiritual or, you know, government document thing of why they're fighting in family court, they usually haven't lived that in a testable period of their life, which I think would be an important thing to do. So I think it's important. Do what works, okay? I'm just telling you what I know from dudes who've won. But I may not look like the guy you want to be the hero to mend your fucking pain. Sorry if I'm insensitive. I've just done this a long time and seen horrible men rip off other men in pain and be rewarded for it. It's disgusting and sickening. And I spit on it. You want to know why I can spit on it? You want to know why I can talk shit on it? Because I have done the work that people don't do for, in December, 20 years. That I've done it for that long, and not many other people have. Very few. I'm going to bet in that that's not you. So when I see it be disgraced, fuck them with the world's dick. Seriously. So I'd guess, it might be a good guess to listen to me on this one. Okay. Step 6, learn to argue the law. The law is going to have the best interest standards. Okay. So the best interest standard is this crazy thing, but learn how it's argued. So when I'm saying learn to argue the law, this is difficult. Again, myself, I'm going to be confused by this if this is happening to me. If this is happening to me, I'm going to be really confused by it. And I'm like a guy who's done a lot of this stuff. In some of the ways, you might say I'm one of the guys. There's probably some other guys that are really good at it. What the fuck does it mean to argue the standard of the law? Okay, remember step 1. What are they attacking me with? Step 2, how does the law define that? Okay, then there's these other steps that I talked a lot about. Then we jump to step 6. How is this argued? How is this argued in your court? How do people come in with your problem, argue this? She's a liar, loses a lot. Okay. Well, she's saying I did this, she did that too, loses a lot. All of those things have ways of winning in awesome ways. So we have to look at how are these argued. So if we go and we listen to everybody who's saying attorneys suck and the family court sucks and it destroys us and it's just a racket that takes our money. Okay, no shit. What, like, why are people following other people that send this message? Like, everybody knows this. I get that you're just realizing it now and you have some friends on TikTok that are broadcasting this or whatever it is. But like, if you think that, you'll never watch family court because you think it's a disease and it's just a part of the lie. And then you're going to rely on conspiracy theories to be your higher power. If you think that all attorneys suck, then you'll never talk to an attorney. You'll never see that there could be any value in ever looking at anything that the legal system has. The legal system takes your money. Okay, yeah, this is horrible, man. I don't want the legal system to take any of my money, ever. It doesn't feel good. I didn't have it, ever. None of the guys in my group who won horribly high conflict cases had the money. None of us did. Like, it was really bad for all of us. Okay, a lot of us, you know, I'll talk about this in some of the other live streams I'm going to do this week on the parental alienation stuff. It wrecked my life in ways that nobody could understand and nobody could, like all the people that were supposed to help didn't have answers, and they tried. And it took $50,000 in a year to lose. Some of you guys, it took more, right? It's horrible. It will take your money. But if you think that is the only thing, that gets used an excuse to not look at any of the people that have answers. You are in family court. Where are the answers? Where are the people who've won? Where are the people who even lost? Because I lost and I figured some stuff out. And it was really valuable. Like, I don't want to say like follow people who lose and it's great. I want to tell you that people who win oftentimes start out losing in family court, and there's a whole bunch of information of what's good and bad. Okay. One of the apparent things, so I've been working with the last couple of weeks, is real abuse. So in the addiction world, I always worked with real abuse, which is horrible. But in family court, I'm looking at real abuse, and then I have an endless documentation of false accusations, which is another live stream. But I want to get the language right for it so YouTube or TikTok doesn't ban me for it. Because if you say abuse and if you say certain words, you're canceled, right? It's great to tell the truth from real life experience. You are censored from it. And it's not even like a conspiracy thing. It's just you can't do it. So if I'm looking at this stuff, right, I want to look at how are these argued in family court? How is it argued? If I'm being accused of being a negligent parent, how does my evidence that's protecting me, and how does my evidence that's showing I'm a good parent, and how's my evidence that's attacking them get argued properly in family court? So that is a big thing. I need to know all of that. Everybody comes in and tells me, they type on my videos, and I did this too, right? But again, I took my extreme, horrific losses and did something good with it to teach people. Everybody says they want to do that, but nobody's done that. And I'm not special. Like, you could do it. It's just hard, mainly because you deal with really effed up people. Well, not bad people, but people at their worst. That's hard. It's hard to do. So maybe that's the thing that I'm special about. But like, I can talk on camera, I can coach good, but I'm not good at complicated things or technical things. I'm not good at that. Like, I learned the hard way. You're probably better at that than me, but for some reason, those guys, like the guys that hire me in their first couple sessions, they tell me about how smart they are and how I do things wrong. And if I did things this way, it could help them more. Those are the guys that lose. Those are the guys that really lose. And very few of them win. And it sucks because I don't really I have an ego. I care about those things, but it hurts so bad when I watch a man for any reason, or a woman, lose. Like, lose the most special thing in their life. Because I didn't want that. Nobody wants that. Like, even I think their ex attacking them doesn't know how bad that is. Because they don't want to see it. They want to cut it out. They want to cancel it. They want to cancel you because it'd be too painful to see it. That's what I don't want to see that. So even the dudes that are just assholes to me, saying that they're insulting to me, who's trying to help them, and say they're the best at whatever, those guys lose bad. And I really try and think, how can I talk to you so that you don't lose something that is soul crushing that I know? It's terrible. All right. So we want to look at the court. How does the court, especially our judge, if we can, how does the court take this evidence and how is it argued? So I don't want to just make the statute and say this is the best interest of the child because I thought so. I want to look at how successful lawyers did it, how successful pro se people did it. And then I want to look at how people lost with it, because you're going to see no shortage of that if you go to family court. And then you go, okay, I'm going to try and prevent those things. All right. But so many people, and again, the leaders of the men's development community, the fucking assholes who say masculinity is taking steroids and renting a car so you look cool or whatever it is. Those dudes told you to go into family court because if you wanted to see injustice, if you wanted to see the tragedy of American culture, go in and watch it. And I just sat there listening. Like, one of my clients sent me the video and I'm like, man, I've watched family court and you see how to win. You didn't figure that out? I mean, that's obvious. It was just like here's this thing that I'm getting killed at, like I'm going to go do. And man, I mean, I get the value of being a victim. Like, if you're really victimized, you need to say this was harmful. But man, Well, why wouldn't you do that? I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that. A dude who people rely on, like every men's development coach relies on gossip and sensationalism and all the worst things about society and culture to promote the strength of society and culture. It's sickening, man. It's sickening because a friend of mine died this week and I talked to them. You know, I know a lot of people who die because I take on the forgotten jobs of people. And I used to not want to talk about it because it would be like you might think, oh man, people who hire you die. It's terrible. Actually, this person didn't hire me. They're a friend and they were a friend through addiction. And man, I know the whole family. We even in our groups, I had the therapist talk to their family about how do you talk to your kids about when somebody dies due to tragedies like this. So I just want to say part of the reason why this makes me so mad is I put it all on the fucking line to help my people. Like, so if people hire me, you know, I can't guarantee you're going to win. I can't, you know, that's a whole complicated thing, but I'll stand next to you. And when I stand next to you and you're suffering because you put faith in me, I take it seriously. Legally, you know, all that stuff, I can't make guarantees or whatever, but like I put myself into it. Nobody does that. Like the people that you follow that go, man, this person's great because they got a boob job and they did liposuction and they're on a beach taking a video. Man, they must know what it's like. Fuck. Which, by the way, I do those things. I do those things, and I used to take pictures of them and have kind of a cool life with those things. But that's not the important stuff, ever. Okay. So it's good to look at how this law is applied. You have to look at it. All right, let's move right along because I'm talking a lot. And I need to blow through this live stream because there's 3 others, not that I'm going to do tonight, but I really want to do them. And the more I do these things, my brain goes, the next day is harder. So I want to do one tomorrow in the daytime. Okay, so number 7, study case law, get professional guidance. Okay, the family court's a business. It's going to take all this stuff from you. Doesn't mean you don't need professional guidance. It doesn't mean that you don't need lawyer consultations. You can hire people that are paralegals. You can hire legal assistants. You can hire people, and it's tricky. There's all sorts of ways where you can get ripped off. But if you think you can do this alone, you're setting yourself up for failure, okay? Like it's not a good idea. I'm not saying you're not smart. I'm not saying you can't go pro se. I'm not saying you don't understand things. But like, I'm just telling you, your kids are on the line here. Your relationship with your kids, your relationship with their mental health that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives. Your relationship with your ability to function is on the line here. I think it's important for you to look up case law. So what that means is other cases that might be relevant to your case. You need to know how to do that. Because if you do it wrong and you don't do it how the court wants, you're going to misfile something, and then you're going to be a part of the court system that does not follow order. You're going to piss them off, and then you're going to tell the judge or an attorney what the law should be, and they're going to not listen to you. Okay? You need to understand how this all works. So look into hiring the right people who can help you. Okay, that doesn't need to be me, right? I only work in a community system, and I expect you to work your ass off. Like if I'm going to put it on the line, if I'm going to lower my life, you know, due to stress and helping people and sadness and not understanding why my friend is dead, and figuring out how to talk to his child who's 12 about how dad's not going to be there anymore. If I'm going to take on that, I want you to work. But there's other people that may not have that same expectation. So, you know, you may not need to take on the work like me, but, you know, whatever. But I expect you to care about your case. I expect you to be able to do your research. I expect all those things, right? So there's other people that you can talk to that could be helpful. There's other people that you could follow. And there's some good ones out there that put out great content that I look at and I go, man, that's really great. This person's telling you how to cross-examine. This person is telling you how to do an interview. This person's telling you what to do in a restraining order. Wow. Watch their free stuff, hire them if you need. But most importantly, what I would say is get a paralegal or a legal assistant to help you go through your stuff. In fact, here it says study case law, right? If you have an attorney that's very expensive and good, and you're happy with that attorney, talk to that attorney about possibly getting a paralegal to help you go through your case. Okay, they could then consolidate the evidence for them so that they could go through the case. So that you could go through all of your emotional chaos and basically be like, man, there's all this emotional chaos and I don't know what's what. Go through it with them. Like what I did it with friends. And now I do it with people in my group. And in my groups, we have legal assistants that you can hire and work with to do that, right? And it's going to save you so much money. Like if you could spend $500 and you're going, man, $500? I'm not going to give you $500. But that $500 that directly, specifically will save you thousands, will save you $2,500 minimum. And actually, in the case that the legal assistant's going over right now, $500 actually was more than $500. $700 is going to save you $5,000, no questions asked. It's a better service. It's a better offer. It's a better thing to do. If you hire a paralegal or a legal assistant, somebody who understands things and can be rational, it's going to save you a lot of money. So it's a good thing to look at, right? You need to look at, like, if I have this complicated case, I need to look at case law and I need to consider professionals. You do it alone and you haven't talked to an attorney, at least for a consult or something like that, you're walking into getting screwed. You are walking into having so many different things in family court happen that are just going to be confusing and screw you over. I'm going to get to this last thing, and then we'll get to the last thing after that. How about that? This last thing is super important. This is actually one of the most important things in this, okay? So step 8, what if this backfires? How do I adapt? Everything you do in family court needs to walk in before you go to court, before you go in. You should look at what is the appeals process. That's a big one and that's hard. And I don't wish that upon anybody, but what is that? The guy in our group, the guy who runs the Sunday call with me, he went in pro se. The judge signed the wrong thing. So he actually got awarded custody and child support, and the judge signed something that screwed some of that up, and it was a big deal. It's a huge deal. Once something is signed, right? So the final parenting plan is signed. It's hard to change. It's a pain in the butt. So he had to go through the appeal process, pro se, and it's timed. So after that, actually, there's another guy who's had alienation for 10 years. And he's now starting to see his kid, and he's in the midst of it, and he's preparing for trial right now. It's a hard one, but that was his idea. We should all be preparing for what appeals are before we start. But backfiring doesn't just mean that. What happens if you go to court and you're prepared, right? And you're prepared, your attorney's prepared, your attorney says, this is a slam dunk. We're going to do this. Like, we got this covered. She lied about this and that. We have it going on. We have whatever witnesses. And then the judge says, I don't care about that. If you watch family court, you're going to see people flip, like be able to adapt. Fuck. What evidence do I have? What was my game plan? And how can I switch? Well, you know how this happens. And again, I don't wish this upon anybody. This is really hard. And I know this is hard. You need to get around some good people. You need to watch family court. You need to talk to attorneys. You need to get in a good group of people. You work with somebody on this. You should have multiple angles every time you go in. This is very difficult. Very, very difficult. But if the judge won't allow certain evidence, if the judge doesn't care about certain evidence, If the judge is having a bad day, because if it's a hearing, they're hearing 20 other cases that are like yours, and people suck, and you got them at the end, you may have to change. How do you adapt? What is it? What about your testimony? What if you're on the stand and you realize that they don't care that you pick the kids every day up from school or whatever it is, and your attorney signals you as, oh, how do you adapt? You're already under stress. Have you rehearsed this with anybody? Have you drilled it? Probably not, But remember, if you're a parent that's willing to do anything, these are things I'm telling you should probably do. This is really tough. Or you see on the stand things are going in a different direction. How do you adapt? Okay. So you adapt by understanding what were the first two things? What are they accusing you of? What are the laws around this? And what's the third thing? What is the direction that we want to go in, and what evidence? How's this evidence going to be articulated? Right? So you want to adapt and start to think, well, look, I was looking for the best interest of the child in that. You've watched family court, so you know when people are trying to bypass certain testimony. Well, no. You've studied that. You've drilled it with people. You know what makes you nervous. You know how to stop and tell the judge, you know what, I need a minute because I'm stressed. Can I have 10 or 20 seconds? You know how to do those things to adapt on the fly. In family court, stuff's going to change so much, it's going to backfire and it's going to go crazy. And you have to be able to adapt to it. So that means before you go in, and again, this is a lot to ask, but again, dads that win, they had to do so much, they go so aggro that they come up with stuff like this. You look at the appeals process, you look at different angles of attack, you look at different angles of defense, and then you start thinking, okay, if something goes wrong in the midst of the trial, how do I switch it? How do I switch it and what would work? It's a lot to study. Okay, so this is a ton of stuff. And to the person who said this is AI, I'm not AI. How do I prove it to you? Would AI drink this glass? What, probably, man. Would AI be able to show you this camera? Can you tell what camera this is? Can you? The lens is a Lumix lens, but what Lumix camera is that? AI wouldn't be able to tell you. You wouldn't be able to know. It's a Lumix S5 2X. If you're looking for cameras, it's a good one to buy because it's cheap. I bought this one used 2 years ago for $1,800, and now it's even less. And it can do a lot. Anyway, so of all of this, I think we're done with what I'm talking about in this presentation. There was something also on like courtroom survival, and this went into testifying as well as things to kind of bring yourself back while you're testifying. We've been going for a while, so I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to briefly look at some questions. Then I'm going to get off of this call, and I'm going to talk to the dudes on my Zoom call who are awesome and the best people in the world. Look at these guys, man. So check this out. Let's look over some of this stuff. Let's look over. I have been looking at TikTok all night, and you guys have been having a discussion here and going back and forth. Like, let me tell you something about discussions, which I haven't read, so I'm just kind of guessing on all this. Like, we're in this heated battle of what's right and wrong and being screwed in the worst ways. It's really, really painful, really painful. Like, it's so crazy. We need to vent. Okay, so venting, there's a therapeutic value to it, but it can also get toxic really easily. We should be able to vent in places where we can fully vent. If you're venting on this, which you may not be, but there's a lot of discussion, TikTok comments are not the best place to vent because nobody has to be accountable. Okay, so nobody has to be responsible for something. Accountability is one of those words that people throw around, and I don't think they know what it means, but nobody has to own anything. Nobody gets to walk into what the actual solution looks like, and nobody has to walk in the pain with you And so I think it's best that you can find in groups and communities and vent and talk about a lot of stuff. In terms of family law, I think this could be a good thing for people to watch and maybe unify with other people. Hate does nothing for anybody. Like again, there could be a therapeutic value to it, but make friends and then message them and talk to them and say, hey, like let's start a group that could be free and maybe find solutions. That's really difficult. There's a reason why my group is paid. Not only does it give a good service, but it's very hard to run. It's really, really tough. It's hard having a group where people are at a point where they may never have been in their lives. And it's very difficult, but you should try and do it. And I think that could be a great, great value and result of this, especially on TikTok where you can contact each other and move towards that. Family law stuff is so complicated. So once a week, I'll do a live stream where I do a Q&A and I invite you guys on a Zoom call where I'll talk to you. But they usually have a lot of dialogue. And so when I see things like this is, like evidence doesn't work, the judge didn't care. Dude, that happens all the time, but I don't know the details of your case. And in not knowing the details, again, everybody's like, well, then I should give up. Okay, you can think that all you want. But if I don't know the details of your case, I'm making a lot of assumptions. And then if I can know more, I can make more assumptions, which might be able to get you to an answer of how to resolve this. And that takes a lot of dialogue back and forth. But if there are questions that have direct answers, I'll try and get to it. Holy shit, somebody gave me money? Whoa. Oh my God. Man, my friend is on the YouTube. Somebody gave me money on YouTube. Thank you. That's so cool. You don't have to do these things. But it's cool. It's so cool. Like it's cool. Like so anybody can donate money to me. Cool. But I have a business that gets a result that holds the test of having a business to stay in business. And that's a good enough standard for me to live by, And there's times where I'm like, man, I may go out of business soon. It's been hard times the last couple of years. 2010 really was a hard year to live through. And 23 on has been a crazy struggle. In 2022, my friend, I have these meetups in my house, and a guy who's always right said, dude, the economy's crashing. I'm like, dude, you're saying this, it's not making me happy. I don't want it to be like 2009 and 10 and 11 again. I don't know if I have it in me. And then when it started to get bad, I was like, fuck. Like actually my business got taken down right from 2023 to 2024. And so the first couple months of 2024 were like, it was bad. It was not good. So there were these challenges that come, and they really take it out of you. But I like to live by that standard. I think that's really important. I think more people should do it. You don't have to, right? I think any ways you can make money, that's great. But I prefer to live by a standard of my direct service, my relationship right now with my business holds the standard to stay in business. Okay. So that's, I think it's a good thing. And I really like it. So, let's see here. In a heartbeat, I learned I was a man in pain from war. Now I'm fighting for the better me, fighting for leading by example, and could only pray for my ex and hope she sees what is best for our child. Been through the battle. Took me $60K to learn the law myself while lawyers didn't put in any work. That's why I appreciate what you check in on, brother. This is written in by somebody that I know, so I will say, I'll say this, this is another reason why I dislike a lot of the trash talking about how screwed up the system is. when it's somebody who's gone through it and has fought and still fights and fights for a solution, that's a very different thing than somebody who isn't willing to continue to learn. So the person that wrote this is willing to continue to learn and do very, very hard things, and it's hard, okay? If somebody quits before they needed to, and you probably don't know what that is because there's so much misinformation about people basically saying the courts suck, and they do, right? And they're giving a mentality that makes it easier. And they're not just giving a mentality, they're actually giving facts out so that you feel better about quitting. Now, in this, again, like I'm trying to tell you, like I put it on the line. I really try and put it on the line, meaning that I try and deliver the best possible thing that I can. Now, I get it. I'm definitely a human, man. I definitely screw this up, but it's hard. Like I do the real struggle. Like, okay, I'm gonna help you in this way. I'm gonna put it on the line, and if it fails, I'm gonna feel it. Like I will do whatever with that pain to feel it. So if I'm doing that and I'm seeing guys who feel that the courts are unfair but are willing to fight for it, that's completely different than people who jump on the bandwagon about it sucking. And then I look at their case or I hear about their case or they start to talk to me about it or they complain more in depth. And it's clear to me that they could have done more. Now, there's two big things in this. One, man, this is so important. I really want everybody to listen to this, even though this is at the end of the live stream. Number one, you were probably a man that was willing to take it all the way. You are probably a man that was willing to do anything for your kids, but there was so much misinformation, you now think that's bitching online. More than likely, you were a man that would have done that. You would have taken it all the way, and if it meant you dying in the fight to win the custody of your kids, not I'm saying that this is a solution, but you would do that, and you would do anything if you had somebody show you, which is why I want to make as much of my stuff for free, right? My services are what you pay for. So you're probably that guy. But the second bad thing is you had a bunch of people, a lot, an overwhelming amount. You have millions of people that at any given moment, and this is man or woman, that you could access right now to tell you that the family court system is fucked and you should give up. You have millions of people. So how come out of those millions, there's a few people and one guy who has a group of people that says we have winners, but there's other people who have winners, right? That they've won. Is that a one-off? Is that a mistake? Okay, so the evidence, this is also what you don't know about evidence and why you get your family court arguments wrong. Just to be clear with you, this is a perfect example. You tell me that there's millions of people and you can go online anytime and find justification of why you should give up and the courts don't work. Now, if you give up because you have to for mental health or you move on, that's different. That's different. I understand that, right? This takes lives. I talk to those lives all the way to their graves. I've gotten suicide notes from guys saying, keep going. I couldn't. Not a lot of people get that. That sucks. Okay. I wear that. So if you say there's all these people and all this evidence and you've watched family court like the dudes who take steroids who give men's advice on getting strong, okay, you would then say that makes sense. You have the evidence to show you that it doesn't work. And then there's one person, there's more than one person, right? Let's say there's one person who says, well, I got a bunch of people that have won and they've lost too, right? There's losers too, but they won in these certain ways. At that point, there is now evidence that this theory that everything sucks and can't work in family court is not true. And then, if I told you that in your court with your judge, I bet you there's somebody with a case similar to yours that also won, but you probably don't know who they are. They're really hard to find, right? And even if that's not true, like even if you win on that one, I bet you if we wait 2 years, we'll find somebody that does win with that judge. That is the probability that has a case like yours that can win. So that will probably happen. But if you really cared, if you wanted the truth, because everybody wants the truth in this, right? Remember I said like everybody wants the religious meaning, the constitutional meaning. They care about their morals and how they're going to fight for it, which then justifies them saying, you know, family court sucks and I'm going to change the laws. Oftentimes they say, I want the truth. Well, if we want the truth, we should do kind of simple things like me. I wasn't a scientist, but like little simple things of then studying, going like, okay, man, this judge, horrible person ruined my life. I want to go in and watch. And then sometimes people won. So I got to see that. Man, it's possible. Okay, so that is really, really important. This is evidence. This is how you find the truth in things, right? And every time you find the truth, you realize there's a new thing we have to get to. So if I realize like, oh my God, people can win, this can happen, it now opens up a world of possibility to me of going like, okay, so how can this work for average guys? And then you work towards that. But if after that point I saw the truth or a truth, man, what I believed is true is no longer true. It can be overwhelming, but I have to say that this is a lie. This is not true, or it may not be a lie, right? It's just I was looking at the wrong things. Okay, so many people are so dead set on it. I can never win, and everything's unfair. That I wouldn't say it's a victim mentality, because I get it. I get why you would think that. I thought it too, right? But that makes you have a victim mentality. It shapes you. It shapes you, man. Again, this is the message from the dude on steroids telling you about strength. Of course it's going to be like the hack. Of course it's going to be the weak stuff. The person can't find truth in themselves or the true test in themselves. They can't be honest with themselves. Of course they're going to find the quick fix. I get it. We all want to be good. If the quick fix could work for me, man, I've taken it many times. That's why I don't believe in it. That's why I don't believe in it anymore, right? And we're only so human, man. I can only be so perfect or whatever, true to self. But this is why we have to look at these things. Like if we really care about truth, if you really care about the Constitution or what it stands for, then go to it. It's not your pain. Your pain lies to you. Your pain can only be to get out of pain. But pain, this is actually something from one of the other live streams that's not on this subject, or I don't know, a little bit more philosophical. Every great thing about humanity, everything great about being a human, everything great that we can think about civilization, everything, without exception, comes from the pains of civilization. It only serves us. It only serves humanity. It does not serve nature or the universe. Things that are man-made, made by civilization, only serve civilization. And the greatest things, philosophy, law, ideas, religion, spirituality, come from the conflict that happens from civilization. You have a conflict in front of you. I'm not saying you're going to be the savior of civilization, but do your job is what is so special about human beings. Is we think, we reason, we have feelings, we make art, we have expression. Expression and connection matters. Other mammals don't have the same depth that we have in this. And that doesn't mean that we're better or worse or we're superior. Maybe we are. But what's unique is this thing that we do, is we fuck everything up and then we solve it and we create something that is so intensely valuable to us, which is what law is. And there's aspects of it which are screwed up. And what helps us with it? Does reactivity? I always love this. People say, but tell me, what about rebellion? What about, the times I had to react and I won the prize and this person in a war? What stabilizes war? What stabilizes conflict? What stabilizes all these things is not chaos continued. Chaos may make a shift. You may make a shift. You may make a big break in your life, but it has to calm down. Rebellion turns into hell always in every example, unless it is led. Chaos, big jumps, adrenaline moves, the time when you got to be the hero. Well, even if you look at that, it's also written afterwards. Some of the most heroic things I've ever seen and witnessed, they weren't narratives of popularity or anything. They're the most badass shit I've seen, and people they wouldn't even register it as happening. So a lot of times our narrative of being a hero is what media defines as that. But you think of those times that you did something great was the snap into a Slim Jim moment, the Randy Savage moment, the moment where you gave it your all. And that's great. That's good. But the essence of life, the constant of life, is a slow moving thing. And we want to get back to that. So in family law, there's all this chaos. We need to bring it back to it. We need to bring it back to that point. If you do this right, if you do any of my stuff right, you come to me with PTSD, you come to me with suicide, you come to me with abuse things, family court things, all this different stuff that I help people with, you are going to go on a path where you can leave at any time, but it's going to be a path which will have to get to a philosophy of life that you can live with that makes you a better person, always. Because I'm going to, at some point, demand all of you, and all of it needs to be looked at. That simple thing doesn't mean you're going to be great, good, or whatever, but it means that you're going to look at it and you're going to face it. Always. No exceptions. Always. That's it. That's where things get too hard to many people. In any case, I'm going to get on this Zoom call. I'm going to end this. Thank you guys so much. We'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow it will be on another subject. We'll probably get to that pain and humanity thing, which is kind of cool, and I enjoy those more. They're what fascinates me, but my way of finding goodness and greatness, virtue in the world, virtue as defined by the goodness within that can only be created by humanity going through the conflicts of humanity. My template for that is people with serious problems, with modern problems that are unique to our modern culture, with the demand that I put on myself to find a solution that will work. Not a Band-Aid, not a solution for advertising, not something that looks good, not somebody that has the right package, but a solution to the pain where men, or sometimes women, come to me desperately and say, I need help. That's what I want to work towards. Whether that's custody or something else, it's all good. All right, guys, I'm out. Thank you so much. It was real. Be well. Love everybody, including yourself.